What we're looking at in this video is forms and how they're used with databases. And first of all, let's take a look at what a form is inside the database. So what we have here first of all is our table before we get to look at the form, and this is showing our primary key here, which is the ID number. Then we've got the actor's name, and this could be split into two, first name and last name, but it's all as one field here. And then we've got the date of birth for that actor as well. Now, one of the things which a form can do, and this is the same information presented as a form for the actors, is I can present it with the ability to change, for instance, the font style, the font size, the colours, so I can change the presentation of how my information appears. I can also display just one record on each page of my form, so I can flick through each of my records and they change with the fields there. So it becomes more user-friendly as well. I also would have the ability to move these fields about and not have them all in one place. So first of all, the reasons for doing forms are that I can change the presentation. And I can make more user-friendly. And then we're going to look at something else which I can also do. So looking at our database, the problem we've got with our database is we've got three tables. One of them's for the actors, one of them's for the directors, and one of them's for the films. And that's going to get confusing for an end user and quite difficult to be editing three tables at once. So instead, I can base a form on a query. So I've joined together my three tables with a query, and now I've got a form based on that. So this is able to talk to all three tables at once. And we notice some things here. Again, we've got improved presentation. But even though we're using these three tables, if we look at our actors, for example, we've got this ID number, and we had those ID numbers inside our films table and inside our directors table. But we don't notice any of the ID numbers in here. There's no ID for the films, there's no ID for the actors or for the directors. So we have two advantages here with what we're doing. One is that we can hide fields. And another advantage is that we can combine or join tables and use in one form. And there's also the advantage that it's possible for certain fields or forms to be read-only. So we can view the data, but we can't change the data. So for example, if this was a real database for films, I might want my users to be able to look at this data, but then not to change it. I might only want people who are administrators to change the data. And so this is a common thing. Okay, I've just been showing the version in Access, but it's also very common to have this forms idea separated out from the data itself, which is in a table. And so here we have an example of a popular website, and at the top here we can ignore this form because this is submitting information. But we look at this form here, which again is submitting information, but it's kind of obvious how it's going to fit into the database. It's probably going to be a table called users or user information, and so we've got the first name, the surname, the email. Here is verification, so it's just going to check this email and compare it with the two which you write in. One of these will then get stored in the database in one table, and the password will also get stored in that table, probably in an encrypted form, along with the gender and the birth date. So all of this here nice and neatly fits into one form in the database. Now, into one table, sorry, in the database. The important thing here is this is nice and user-friendly. It may be that there are other fields which are hidden. In fact, almost undoubtedly there are. There's probably a hidden field that records the IP address which I'm using. There's probably another hidden field that records the date and time which I'm registering at. Another field probably looks to see whether I've activated the account via some email and clicked on some link to say that I'm actually using that email. All of these are hidden though to the user. So we get a nice presentation for the user, and we also hide fields that they don't need to see. Nowhere are you seeing what your ID number is or what the primary key is or any other user data. And that's why forms are used. Even in HTML with websites, you'll have forms being used which are presented to the user, and you'll have the tables on the back end which can be seen by developers and administrators.